Hey, this is Karen, Coach's Corner Chats, and on the episode today, I have Rich Stoneman. Rich, where are you at and what are you up to?
Longwood University, Farmville, Virginia, the heart of Virginia, definitely in the center of the state of Virginia, and great place, great town, great people here at Longwood University.
And what is your job title and responsibilities there at Longwood?
My job title is associate women's soccer coach. I've also been the head women's tennis coach for one season. I was the men's goalkeeping coach assistant here for a couple of years, but right now currently only associate head women's soccer coach.
And what kind of responsibilities does having associate coach have on a daily basis?
Well, I mean, I'm in a great situation here. I work with Todd Dyer. He's my counterpart, my boss. He's going into his 29th, 30th year here. I'm going into my 10th season. I mean, we share a lot of the duties here when it comes to team management, academics, academic success, the role with the team as far as training, developing. I primarily do the goalkeeping, but I also do a lot of team dynamic stuff when it comes to helping build our team culture. But yeah, just the recruiting, the day-to-day management, a lot of travel, a lot of psychology, all those things that go. That associate head coach is a title that basically means my boss, my counterpart, Todd Dyer, trusts me enough to handle the day-to-day basis of the things that we do here to try and be successful.
What has been some of the positives of having a coach that's been there for almost, it sounds like 30 years? Like what is the you don't hear that a whole lot nowadays. Coaches are kind of bibbity bopping around. One, how cool has it been that he's been there that long? And two, why do you think he has stayed for that long?
Well, number one, he'll tell you that he came to Longwood because he chased his wife. He was in love in high school. She was coming to Longwood. She was a basketball, softball star, way better athlete than he ever was. But he chased her here to Longwood, and he came here. He played here. His wife went to school here. She was a dual sport athlete. His daughter, Kylie, who works in our alumni office, she played for us for 4 years. I was lucky enough to get to coach her for 2 years. And his son, Devin, who works in our computer software department here at the university. So when we say it's a family affair, it really, really is. And it's a different dynamics. Like, you've got someone that's been here, that's invested in here. This is kind of his baby. Like, he helped start the program from scratch. And it's just neat to work alongside someone that's so trusting, so invested, and just is so passionate about what he does. And I'm lucky enough that I get to share those duties with him.
You've mentioned it sounds like goalkeeping is kind of your thing. Was that something that you, as a youth, were you a goalkeeper?
I was. I mean, grew up playing goalkeeper. No one wants to be a goalkeeper when they're growing up. It's just it happens. And it just so happened it worked out. Played it all my life. Had a great career in college. Played a little bit after college, and got into that. Helped me get into coaching. Like, people were struggling to find good goalkeeping coaches, and I was fortunate enough growing up in college that I had a great goalkeeper trainer. I had great goalkeeper trainers after college as well that just showed me things, developed. And I got to get into the licensing and learning a lot of the things that hopefully I'm teaching my goalkeepers. But yeah, that's how I got into coaching. And it's a brilliant position, and it's the best job in the world.
So where did you grow up at? Are you a Virginian from birth?
No, born in North Carolina, raised. My dad's American military. We grew up all over the place. So being a military brat, you didn't have an option but to play soccer. So I then went to college at Oklahoma Christian University, NAIA school. They're Division II now. They've made the transition to D2. I played at an NAIA school, so it was kind of like the wild, wild west when it comes to, you didn't have the NCAA restrictions. My center back was 30 years of age. I had a forward that was probably in his late 20s. I believe we had a couple guys that were on a couple of video games that, and went on to play at a very high level as well. So it was a good experience, and still really good friends with those guys still today.
I was going to say, what was that? So the bouncing around and what have you, was soccer something that was that consistent thing, constant, like throughout all the moves, that you could always kind of fall back on?
Oh, that's how you got to meet people. That's how you made friends. But yeah, it was pretty much my lifeline. Like, school was never my thing. So if it wasn't for soccer, I wouldn't have gone to school. So, but yeah, it was my lifeline, still is today, and I'm blessed that I get paid to coach the sport.
Was your dad excited about you kind of attacking, going to college and playing, and then going on and now as a coach? Is that something he is excited about? And was it something that people saw in you even when you were younger?
Well, I think my dad, he's served 30 plus years in the Army, and served his country real well, and he's pretty proud of the fact that this is the career path I've chosen. It's a leadership role. You get to mentor young people just like he did when he was in the Army. And but yeah, very I'm pretty sure he's pretty proud of me. I mean, I'm not as probably not as proud as I am of him, but yeah, it's pretty fun to share those experiences. When we get to travel around, he gets to come visit, and mom and dad and brother, and you get to see your family when you travel. So yeah, yeah.
The As you moved on, you said once you started getting into the licensing courses and what have you, where was your first stop? What was your first kind of coaching experience?
Well, I left college my senior year to go play. I got picked up supplemental draft, bounced around, uh, you know, MLS practice squads, A League teams, USISL, Colorado, New Mexico. Ended up in Raleigh, and then just went back to school to finish my degree. And that's how I kind of got into coaching as a graduate assistant, and just kind of went to my first coaching course, and I met the coaching staff at Baylor, and it was R.J. Anderson, Nick Cal, and R.J. Anderson was the associate head coach at Baylor at the time, and just kind of asked me to come work their camps, and went there and worked their camps. And luckily enough, my college teammate was also the assistant tennis coach at Baylor at the time. So I went to Baylor, met Nick Cal, great tactician, great man, probably one of the winningest coaches in NCAA history. And but yeah, I got to work with him, start off there, and just kind of that network of going to those coaching licenses, you just kind of get to meet people. And I think I did a good enough job where it kind of caught this coach's eye, and he was just like, hey, why don't you come work for us? And it just kind of blossomed from there. So yeah. So my first stop was Baylor.
That's amazing, because that's no like small school kind of soccer. Was what one, it's so cool. This is something I've been hearing more and more from. It's so cool that coaches will just reach out and just, hey, come on and work with us, come to our program. There you are, bushy tailed and wide eyed, just like, okay, I'll go do it. What was that first experience of like, this is big time college soccer?
Well, it was definitely intimidating. Like and to clarify, I started off as a volunteer assistant coach. I was getting paid off of camps and things like that, and had to work some, odd part-time jobs around the Waco area. But like, I was fully invested in every practice. They trusted me with a lot of things. They entrusted me with on-campus visits, the training of the team. I got to do all those things, and just kind of getting your feet wet in that type of environment to start. It just kind of really set the precedent as to, all right, this is the standard, this is what I want to do. And I got to work with Nick Cal's, probably one of the better coaches in the country, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that because I worked with him, but just the things he taught you, he gave me the leeway to make mistakes coaching, and he helped me progress, he helped me build, he helped me grow and learn, but he also trusted me in what I was doing. So in return, we're still good friends still to this day.
What were some of the things, not just for you, but when he was running his program, what were some of the things that you took away and said, you know what, as I continue on, those are things that I want to implement with programs that I work with?
His passion, his ability to teach the game, to break it down into aspects of the defending, the midfield possession, the attacking, the finishing, those things, just kind of breaking it down for your team, but also building team culture. And that's kind of the big thing you hear in business and athletics now. And Nick was Coach Cal was really good at that. And he still is to this day. And, I give him a lot of credit for the things that I learned to really look after your players, take after them, and, and just care about them more than just the soccer players and what they can do for you on the field. He definitely creates a good culture of family.
Your experience kind of bouncing around in that, kind of figuring out if you were going to go make the pro thing. What was it like to finally kind of realize like maybe this wasn't going to work out? Or, as I'm sure it had to test your patience and had to be a little frustrating to be bouncing around and like getting, here, I have an opportunity here, but it didn't work out. And then I went here and went there. How big was that in terms of like building your ability to deal with adversity and where you're at now?
Wow. I think it had a lot to do with, it had a lot to do with it. Like there was a 2.5, 3 year span there where I was living out of, two large travel mitri bags. And it was just, you never knew 1 week to the next, whether you were going to stay or you're going, or you've been released, you've been picked up here. But yeah, just the adversity, the ability to fight through things, and some of the lessons where I'm teaching my players now. It's hard. No matter what you do, there's always someone that's just as good as you, if not better. And when you get to the point where, I was a good club player, I was a good college player. And then when I got to the next level, it was like, man, there's people that are just better. They're just better. And, I was in Dallas and Mark Dodd was the starter, and he's 6'4", I'm 6 foot. And I had to go to the first training session, the second training session, and I had to be at both because I was trying to earn my keep. But yeah, just the struggle of, survival, perseverance, I tell my players it's the ability to fight. You got to fight. And how do you react when you're in that fighting situation? Do you tuck tail and run? Do you quit, or do you carry on? And some of the hardest lessons in life are failures that we experience as players and still as coaches.
How difficult was it to kind of make that decision of like, maybe this isn't going to work out, and then kind of pursue the coaching thing?
Well, that part wasn't hard at all. I tore my knee out, so I tore my PCL and MCL out, and rehab, recovered, tried to make a comeback in the USISL A-League, and it just was never the same. I was just never going to be the same. So I left school, went back to finish my degree, had no plans on getting into college soccer whatsoever, but went back, finished my degree as a graduate assistant, and just fell in love with it. Like, I go, wow, this is what we get to do. And all those lessons that your coaches teach you growing up that you don't really comprehend or understand at that point in time, all came back full circle. And it was like, wow, if this can impact me the way it's impacted me, then maybe I can have that same influence and, impact some other lives as well.
So you go to Baylor, volunteer assistant, and work your way into that. Where does your next step go from there?
Next step went to Louisiana Tech in Ruston, Louisiana. We were a startup program from scratch in the Western Athletic Conference, which was like, our travel partner was Utah State. The trips were Hawaii, San Jose, Fresno State, Nevada, Reno, Moscow, Idaho, and Boise State. Those were our trips. And but went there.
Long road trips, long.
Oh, you're missing 4 days out of the week. But yeah, stopped at Louisiana Tech. We helped start that program. I got lucky enough that Jen Burns, now she's married, but Jen Burns, no longer coaching, but she hired me. We were I think we were the youngest coaching staff in the country at Division I that year. She was 23, I was 26, and there was just the two of us. And we started a program from scratch in probably one of the hardest conferences in the country back then. And yeah, that was a learning experience for both of us, especially me. A lot of growth, a lot of development. Yeah, it was because we were supposed to have a that first year gap to recruit, and then we got told you're going to play the NCAA minimum of 13 games, and you have to field the team by July. And we were like, so luckily they had a decent club team at Louisiana Tech at the time, and we were able to bring in some transfers and a couple of players to field the team that first year. That I think we may have gone 2-11 that year.
So this is so cool, like starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of almost figuring it out as you go.
Mm-hmm.
And what is an experience like a road trip? Like what goes on when it's a 4-day, like how do you plan, how do you plan that for your team? How do you keep them locked in, especially like after it sounds like maybe some struggling on some of those road trips? How did you keep like the group together as you're trying to build and then continue that on?
Well, luckily those road trips back in the old days of the WAC, we got to go some pretty neat locations. Like we got to go to Hawaii, we got to go to San Jose, Boise State, Utah State was a great place. Even Moscow, Idaho it's not that bad. And I'm sure people were like, "Oh, great, we have to go to Ruston, Louisiana." That was probably, which Ruston's not a bad place, but no, it was. I mean, we got to go to some pretty unique locations. Still had to concentrate on the task at hand, and yeah, it got pretty competitive when we were traveling to Hawaii and San Jose to see who got on the plane, because back then we could only travel 23 players, and we had a roster of maybe 30. So yeah, it's but I mean, that's the logistics of what we do as coaches now. Is there's some downtime. What do you do with that downtime? You want to have it structured. You want to go do things. You want to, at least when we travel, go and experience those places that we're going. And that's part of the experience of being a college athlete.
The one thing too that I was thinking is you've gone from Baylor with a coach who's kind of like just got this program that's clicking and all that stuff in there. How long did it take to kind of feel like how long were you at Louisiana Tech? And then how long did it take to kind of feel like you and Coach Burns were kind of like making progress? We were developing the culture and the idea of family and all those things you kind of mentioned earlier.
It was tough. It was probably my most growth experience of my career, because I was there for 3 years. After the first year, we only invited 3 players off of that team back, and we brought in a plethora of freshmen and a plethora of transfers, because at the end of the day, we had to produce. We had to recruit better players, and that was hard, because those kids gave us everything they had and plus more. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't good enough. And hey, from being on a club team to being on Division I athlete one year, like their experience was, trust me, they enjoyed it, and we still have good relationships with them. But it was tough. Like, you're building a program from scratch. You don't have a facility. You do have a facility, but it's not up to par with the rest of the conference. So yeah, I'm just building everything from the ground up. And I mean, you take a look at their facility they have now in Ruston, Louisiana. That Law Tech's done a great job supporting women's soccer and doing a great job there. And and then yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, not at all.
The one thing too is I think I hear this all the time, is a lot of people look at college coaching and they're like, "Oh, you guys play in the fall," but clearly, if you're trying to create a program and build it, this was a 365 a day or a year type experience.
It is. I think there's a lot of pressure that people don't see or don't really understand unless you're in the trenches doing what we're doing, as far as, because at the end of the day, we are college coaches. We have to win games, but we also have to create a good culture. We have to provide these young ladies and young men the opportunity to empower them to be great at whatever they want to do. And on top of that, you got to manage academics, you got to manage team culture, you've got to manage travel. There's a lot of things that go into this, and college coaches wear a lot of hats, and and it's I mean, and here at Longwood, there's only 2 of us on staff, so we share a lot of duties and wear a lot of hats. But it's I mean, at the end of the day, it's pretty rewarding.
So 3 years in Louisiana Tech, you've
Yeah.
been doing that, and then what pulls you away from there?
Well, we went through, my head coach resigned to get out of coaching. She was a great coach, and she played at Ole Miss, and she was an all-star at Ole Miss and Hall of Famer there. And Jen wanted to start a family, and she's in Baton Rouge selling real estate now. But I mean, we went through the coaching change, and I was in the mix for the job. But at the end of the day, we were the youngest coaching staff in the country. They were about to make some major changes in the conference. They wanted someone with head coaching experience. Clearly, I didn't have that. And, and I was lucky enough that the job at East Carolina came open. And again, it comes down to who you know. College soccer is a very, very small community. We all know each other. And it just so happens that Nick Cowell at Baylor knew Rob Donnerworth at East Carolina from their Division III days together. And it just so happened that my grandmother went to school there. My mom went to school there at ECU. And I went out and interviewed and hit it off well with Shannon. Shannon Lewis was the assistant coach at the time. And then Rob Donnerworth was the head coach at the time. And yeah, it just so happened it worked out. And I ended up moving to North Carolina, where my parents are originally from. And it was great 3 years at ECU. We won Conference USA and did some good things. And that was kind of the prime of East Carolina athletics at the time. We had Terry Holland as the athletic director. Skip Holtz was the football coach at the time. And, a lot of sports were doing well. And it was just, it was a great place to be. I mean, big time football school, and, and we were successful. And that was probably my funnest coaching staff I ever got to work with, was Rob, me, and Shannon at ECU. And just just a great staff, because we had people that, we all generally care about our players, but we just all got along and just created such a great culture there. And and it was good times. Still very, very good friends with a lot of alumni there and faculty staff there as well.
How awesome was it that it was not only like you all, but the entire athletic department sounded like was really buzzing at that time? What was that like to be just in the hallways and just seeing other coaches that almost kind of like feeding off each other's energy?
Oh, it was like you said, feeding off each other's energy, and just the support that we received, that we gave. It was always returned full circle. It was just it was a neat time to be at East Carolina. It really, really was. Like, football was doing well, baseball was doing well. Women's soccer did well. Basketball had, they were having a hot streak at the time, and softball always, did well there too. So it was it was just a great accumulation of success, and just great working with great people.
So it sounds like 3 years is your perfect number. East Carolina, awesome experience, love coaching, lots of success. And then we bounced to
Coastal Carolina. Went to Coastal Carolina, Conway, South Carolina. The opportunity came up to go join the new staff that was coming there. And I had always thought that Coastal Carolina was going to be my dream job. And great place to work, great people to work with. Again, their new AD was Hunter Yurachek at the time. He's now the athletic director at Arkansas. I knew the men's staff down there pretty well. Sean Dawking, they're very successful. He was fun to work with as well. Kyle Russell was the assistant. He's now the head coach at FIU on the men's side. But I got to work with Tammy DeCesare. She was the first head coach at Coastal. And we did very well the first year. We won the regular season in the Big South, did well, went through the coaching change again. Luckily for me, they hired Paul Hogan. He came from Colorado in the Big 12. So we'd crossed paths when I was at Baylor and he was at Colorado. And it just kind of clicked. And I was lucky. I was really lucky at Coastal to get to work with the men's program as well. I was a goalkeeping coach there for a couple of years, and we won the Big South, went to the Sweet 16, got to produce a lot of players that went to the MLS off of the men's side, and on the women's side, we created we basically helped create a turnaround in the program, and and Paul Hogan came in, and he's such an amazing coach too. Like he's such an amazing man that it just kind of but anytime you take over a program, there's always got to be that kind of change. And I think that first year we graduated 9 starters, so it was kind of a rebuilding year, Paul's first year, and it just kind of it accumulated some things, and spent some time there. We won a couple championships on the men's side, won the regular season on the women's side. Great experience, and then the opportunity came to work for Charlotte Soccer Academy, and I went there and joined a friend of mine, Elijah Denton, at Baylor University, a Division II school right out there, right outside of Charlotte, and spent 1 season there with him while I was coaching club. Club was always something in the back of my mind I thought I might want to do, but after 1 year, I was like, no, this is not for me. I want to get back into the college game. So, yeah. Had a great time at Pfeiffer, Division II school. We won Conference Carolinas, went to the NCAA tournament. We were ranked in the top 20. Just did some, good things there. And it was again, fun. It's always fun to be part of success, I guess,
So what was it? It was an interesting comment. What was it about the club experience that just wasn't like meeting your appetite for what you wanted from the coaching experience?
I think the club game it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I just think I've been embedded in the college game for so long that that's where my heart and that's where my desire was to always be in the college game. But I always thought, you always think, hey, I could be a pretty good club coach, and I was. We had some good success with Charlotte Soccer Academy, but at the end of the day, college is where I wanted to be. I wanted to be on the road recruiting. I wanted to be on the field. I wanted to establish those relationships with not only the players but the staff, the faculty and staff at the university, and just kind of help grow these young people into better people. And not that you can't do that with club, but I think you get to spend more quality time with people in the college game than you do at the club level.
The other thing that I really love about this is your experiences have been kind of all over the place in terms of where the program was when you came in, when, you go from Baylor to Tech to, East Carolina's on an upsurge, to then Coastal again, kind of building up. But the other thing, and you mentioned it, was how impactful and has it been to have such quality? Like every coaching staff sounds like you were like, dude, I found this is the dream spot to just be soaking in so much cool coaching information from.
And I'm blessed. I'm lucky. I mean, I've got to work with Nick Cowell. I've got to work with Jen Burns. I got to work with Rob Shannon at East Carolina, which was amazing. And then Tammy and then Paul both at Coastal on the women's side, and then Sean Docking and Kyle Russell on the men's side there. I was a sponge. I just soaked up a lot of things, a lot of knowledge, watching things, changing things up for my purposes. And just, a lot of not only growth as a coach, but I think growth as a person as well. Like when you surround yourself with quality people, you try and emulate those good standards that they set forth. But yeah, I mean, I'm just been so lucky in that aspect,
The one thing too, you mentioned earlier, even at the very first spot, was the word trust. Like they trusted me with whatever responsibilities it was, or even running a session and all that type of stuff. Is that something that you have seen like throughout all your experiences, how willing coaches are to like, hey, go ahead, I want to let you try this? Or is it kind of depends on their personality?
It really depends on their personality. Like a lot of coaches, I think, aren't so willing to let you experiment with their team, or do things without them overseeing or standing behind and overviewing things. But a lot of trust. I think every coach knows where I came from and who I worked with, and those coaches have trusted me then. So I think, they felt like definitely if Nick Cowell can trust you, Rob Donworth can trust you, then I can trust you as well. And again, that just goes back to the quality people that I've been lucky enough to surround myself with, and Paul Hogan's still at Coastal Carolina. So is Sean Docking, and they're doing great things there. And and then the job came open at Longwood, and I was sitting in my office, and I remember Coach Dyer and I had dialogue when I was at East Carolina. I remember us talking on the road recruiting, and I'd been to Farmville because back then you could go watch games outside of conference so I'd been to Farmville and seen their complex, and so I reached out to him, and it was honestly it was a no-brainer. I came on my interview, to have a coach that's been here for so long, that's so invested. And when I say invested, like he's going into his 29th year, you really don't see or hear about that a whole lot. And he's not going anywhere anytime soon. So I knew that I had someone that was going to trust in me, but I also knew that I had job security. As long as we win games and we do things the right way. But for me on my interview, like the team culture that he's created here, and I like to think I've had something to do with it the past 9 to 10 years, but the team culture that he's created here, the belief, the buy-in, the honestly saying this is a family affair here. There's a lot of family values that go on here, and there's a lot of truth behind those words because of what he's been able to produce and build here. And it's fun to see that. It's fun to be part of it, and for me it's been fun to really add on to that and help out as much as I can.
So this one clearly is your longest coaching stint. Mm-hmm. Is that stability and all that, like when you got there and it just clicked, or has Longwood just kind of like it feels like home?
It's a neat place. It really is. And people hear Farmville, Virginia, and they think we're in overalls with pitchforks coaching soccer. That's just not the case. But it's a great university. It's the third oldest university in the state of Virginia, 1839. There's a lot of history here in this town. It's a great town that supports the university, vice versa. The university supports the town. You got the High Bridge Trail, you got the Appomattox River that flows through town. So on the weekends, it becomes like this outdoor mecca for people just come to, because we're in the heart of Virginia. And it's just a neat setting. But no, that job security was like, I'd been at places, I've bounced around, and, I'd chased the next big thing. And, for us here, it's like, this is our big thing. We want to win a championship. It's never been done. We're going to do it. It's just a matter of when, hopefully sooner rather than later. And just to coach with someone that is so passionate about his program, our program, but I call it's his baby. And but just someone that's so passionate about his program, his players, the culture that we're building here, and honestly, the team culture that we have here is the best it's ever been anywhere I've been. No offense to those other schools or other coaches, but when you have that longevity in the coaching staff, you've just got more pillars to build upon.
I was going to say, what are some of the things about the culture there that maybe it's just a feeling or whatever, but what do you see or what do you hear, or what is it about Longwood right now that you're just like, this is awesome to be a part of, like that kind of culture?
We've, besides women's soccer, we've always had a good culture of, like people are like, why are you still there? And I'm like, I've got a great boss. I've got great players that play for us. They're bought into what we're doing, how we're doing it. Every now and then we got to remind them why we're doing it. But I've got great boss, great kids, and I got a really, really good administration. I've been a number of places where you can't say all three of those things in one handful. So it's just it's a unique place. It's a unique situation. I've had the opportunity to move on, but it's just I've developed a buy-in. I've developed a great friendship with Coach Dyer. And I've got a good relationship with our faculty and staff here. And the other coaches. Like softball's always done well here. Basketball is on the rise here. That's their big thing. Both of our basketball programs, Coach Tillett and Coach Aldrich, they're killing it in basketball. And it's something that hasn't been done here before. So it's an exciting place to be right now.
Talking about those other programs, following you now on Twitter, you seem to pop up at multiple sporting events. What's the like why? And I mean, what's the whole purpose of, I mean, I've seen you at I think it was a basketball game, and then you were at like the boys training, I think this morning or this afternoon. What is the impetus to be a part and be out and be seen?
Well, it's to me, it's not about being seen. Like it's not about me. It's about the support that you have for your fellow coaches. Like our new baseball staff. You know, Coach Oxidine is. You know, he was an assistant here. He was at Coastal as a player or a graduate assistant when I was at Coastal Carolina. So those friendships that we have, it's a small enough university where your professors are going to know your name, but it's big enough where you get to compete at the highest level at the Division I game, whether that's soccer, softball, basketball, baseball, you know, track, lacrosse, cross country, tennis. But there's something unique about what we have here. Like all of our offices are in the same building on the same hall. So we see each other on a daily basis. It's not like we're at one building, one facility or another facility. So there's definitely a lot of friendships, a lot of uniqueness that goes on within at Longwood. And we have good leadership here. Like, you know, Troy Austin was the AD when I first got here. He's now at Duke University. And now we're led by Michelle Meadows. She's one of the few female athletic directors at this level, and it's just nice to have leadership that lets you do your job, that understands your job, because she was a Hall of Fame softball player at Virginia Tech. You know, so when there's issues or things come up, she's very understanding, she's very forthcoming, and she's just like, yep, been there, done that, and and she's she helps us with some of the things we struggle with, and it's just nice to have that type of leadership and it just resonates to everyone here at the university. And it doesn't hurt that I work for the godfather of the university. Coach Dyer is the godfather of Longwood University.
Oh, he's the godfather, huh?
Yeah, he is.
That does help. As you kind of keep going through this, and you look forward a little bit, you've talked about, I've had some opportunities to maybe bounce on, but we want to win a championship here and continue to grow this program. Do you look ahead at all and say, what could I do? Like you talked, you took a little bit of time and did a season with club just to see what it's like, and it wasn't your thing, and now you're back in college, or are you kind of content and like, I'm just going to kind of ride the wave that we've got here at Longwood?
Well, number one, I'm never content. You have to ride the wave. You have to ride the waves that you're given. You don't really get to choose the waves, in my opinion. No, we're not content here. We're definitely building, and it's something special. I wouldn't say content is not my repertoire here, but maybe obsessed. I think my players would say I'm a little obsessed with getting a championship, winning, putting the ring on their finger and those types of things. But no, it's to answer your question, there's been opportunities elsewhere, but there's a lot of work still to be done here, and there's a lot to be said for enjoying where you're at, who you're doing it with, and who you're doing it for.
I couldn't have said it much better. For people that want to kind of connect with you and follow along and see like where the next steps for your career and as you keep working there at Longwood and for Longwood soccer, what's some easy ways they can connect with you?
Well, I mean, obviously Twitter, Stoneman FC is my Twitter page, but we have a Longwood, Coach Dyer as well. Instagram is again, it's Stoneman FC. Like that, everything is related to our program and our players and what we do and how we do things here, and some life lessons along the way. But yeah, I mean, that's how I would say connect with us. I mean, you follow me on Twitter. It's someone told me the other day, it's pretty entertaining. You're always on the go, but that's the job that we do. And, I love the job that we do. So yeah, that's how I would connect and follow us.
I was going to say too, your pictures, it's constantly, like I said, that's how I knew you were at softball. You were wearing the helmet the one day, I think for one of the baseball teams, I got new ones and all that type of stuff. How that's something I'm sure has changed from where you started coaching to now. How important is having a social media presence been for you now at the college level?
Well, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, I guess, but it's more of a blessing because it's another avenue for people to see what we do, how we do it. And it's also for us to, to get to see, vice versa, when recruits, their families, get to know them on a basis outside of just things soccer. And it's always fun for us when we get to see that our players have a life outside of soccer, and that they're succeeding in academics and things that we didn't know that they were interested in. And when it comes to academics, and just life in general, their travels, some of the neat places some of our players go, and some of the things they get to experience as student athletes, and with their families on vacations and things like that as well. So yeah, social media it's definitely changed, I think, a lot of people's outlook on things, but I think it's more of a blessing than a curse.
I think that's a great point and a great way to end this one. This is Karen with Coach's Corner Chats with Rich Stoneman, and I'm out. Peace.